invite Dr. Ravi to kindly make the presentation to us. Over to you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ms. Tara. And I must, at the outset itself, I must thank Education Forum of Sri Lanka for giving me this opportunity and inviting me to do this presentation and to open up a discussion on a very important subject. It is not only to Sri Lanka, but globally as well. So with that, I'll quickly go to the presentation. Yes, I'll just give you a brief introduction about the child development as well. Please bear with me. This is for the benefit of the people, the audience who are joining today, who doesn't have a much knowledge on child development as well. So just touch upon it and the brain development a little as well. So if you look at the child development, it is of course a process where uniquely you get adapted and also get integrated into the development that takes place in a child. So it's an experience, it takes time and it's a gradual transition period. So during that period, a child will acquire so much of skills and also knowledge, which will turn into behavioral changes as well. So it's a process and also gradual transition and acquiring skills and knowledge, very especially which brings in behavioral changes. So in short, it is a gradual appearance and changes that takes place within, and also little by little, the complexity increases. So the degree of complexity increases with time, and that will lead into changes in the actions, communication, thinking, then also feeling, and also social skills of a child. So it gradually happens, and that is how the growth comes. So this is a holistic development of a child. Of course, there are 4 domains into it mainly. So it's socio-emotional domain, and also the physical development, where you see the child develops, grow, mentally and physically growth takes place. Also the communication skills develops, and also the most importantly, the cognitive development. So with that, to do this is what we need. The most important thing is the brain. So that is where the development happens, and this is the most important organ that contributes towards the development of a child. At the birth, we all know it is about 350 grams to 400 grams, and it continues to grow till about, say, 1.4 kilogram. And the brain has many neurons and glial cells, and billions of neurons to start with, about 100 billion. It gradually reduces, but the most important thing is, this is where the actions, communication, thinking, feeling, or whatever, this is the most important organ that contributes towards all of this. So brain development is so important, as Tara said, within the first 1,000 days. That is called the golden 1,000-day period, according, from the health point of view, where brain develops about 80 to 85% during the first 3 years, which is the 1,000 golden day period. Unless you stimulate, the most important neurons will not last. And because there are a lot of synapses, there are a lot of connections that a cell takes, does, very especially the neurons. So every second, a neuron will have about 1,000 connections made, and to retain those valuable connections, you need to stimulate the brain. So if you just say, I'll just take a quick look at the brain. There are several parts. There are several centers which does a lot of good things for us to function as a unit. So on the left, you see the planning area, the frontal lobe, we call the frontal lobe, and from the back you can see the sight and visual cortex, and it goes into the memory of whatever we see, and gradually there are different locations which does so much of functions. So coordination happens just behind the planning emotion area, and most important area you can see in red, where the voluntary movements happens. So a person can think, he maybe want to do so many things, but ultimately it comes down to this. It comes down to this red part where a person will really do it. So that voluntarily movement initiation happens from this red area. So our education, our skills, whatever the motivation we get will trickle down to this area. And if we are really trained, and also if we have the proper development, understanding unwanted voluntary movements could be controlled, and only the important things could be done, and that is called the holistic development of a child. So let's take
your presentation can't be seen. Did you put up the slides?
No. Well, did you? Can you see the slides now?
No, not yet. Until he does that, just to remind anyone who wants to make a intervention during the discussion to please use the raise hand sign, please. Sorry, Dr. Ravi, over to you.
Can you see me now? Can you see the slides?
Yep, can do.
So just show you. So this is what I was talking about, the red area. The front is on the left hand side. The back of the head is on the occipital area. This is just a cross section of the brain, which I don't have to go through. But I'll quickly take you to a very important slide. This is where if a brain is stunted, if the brain has not developed properly, you can see on the left hand side where that golden color area is very limited. But a healthy brain of a child, which is about 3 years, you can see there's a vast area of brain matter. Now, this type of a brain cannot be reversed back into the right-hand side of a picture because it has already got affected. So this, to avoid this, we really need to have the proper nutrition, stimulation, all that. There are many, it's a multi-sectoral approach towards development of the brain. But important thing is that stimulation should happen, not only the nutrition. So with that, I'll just take 1 minute to give you an example. You can see, of course, a snake. For a child, how it appears, and to an adult. So if you quickly look at it, for the youth, it is of course, he remembers this is a cobra, and of course you get danger into you. Emotionally, you get very, very, very activated, and then you will have your thought process and go into a response. But to a child, it's a plaything, of course, something that a parent has not given to him or her, and joy comes into as an emotional reaction immediately, and the next would be the action would be to touch this snake, and we know where it will end up. Now, if we take that, the initial thing is the sight, of course, then we go into the memory of the snake. If you have a memory of the snake, very especially with the adult, of course, we know this is a dangerous thing which is in front of us, and it will move into our imagination as to what we should do, and we coordinate that with you plan what to do next, and then you go into the coordination, and finally it drop down to the initiation of the voluntary movement. That may be to go away from the snake or to attack the snake. So this is how the brain functions. So each and every area of the brain does a specific job. So in short, the brain development, or the brain is it is a formation of all the processes. So different areas does a specific job. And neurons make a lot of connections, as I said, synapses. Then also it remembers symbols and associations, and ultimately the skills development, adaptation to the behavior, all happens with the brain development. The important thing here is how are we going to manage the time in this? Because timing is so important when it comes to brain development. We all know that the early childhood, from 0 to 5, actually, there are 2 definitions. One say it is 0 to 8. In Sri Lanka, we consider 0 to 5, or from the conception up to 5 years as the early childhood development period. We can see very especially the peer social skills, language skills, vision, hearing, you name it, the emotional responses, all that is very high at the initial stage of the age. So the sensitivity is very high. But then you see a gradual decrease when time passes. So what is more important is, time is important, but managing time is more important than that when it comes to child development. Of course, this was proven by the Heckman in 2002 in Chicago University. Professor Heckman, the study also said return on investment, when we invest early in a child, the return is about $1 to $8, $1 to $9. And today, we understand it is about $15 to $16 if we invest early. So preschool age investment on a child is very much important. But the sad story is, are we doing that, very especially in Sri Lanka? Out of our GDP, I'll come to that later. Gross domestic product, we invest 0.0001%, whereas a country like us would have been in a better situation had we invest about 0.03%. But I don't blame any government for that, because it's not that easy to invest such a huge amount into early childhood. But some way we need to do that. So if you look at the early childhood, we know it is 0 to 5 years. There's a home-based section as well as the center-based. And today we have, it is not 1.4 million, this is 2012 census, but today we have 1.8 million children, very especially 0 to 4 years. And we conducted a national census with the Census Statistics Department through our project, World Bank ECD project, in 2016. And it proved that there are 19,668 preschools, and out of that, 80% are run by non-governmental organizations. So if you take the teachers and the assistants, there are 45,200 nearly teachers and assistants serving these 20,000 preschools. So ideal thing would be to invest early on ECD and invest smartly, and we have to invest on all. This is what the World Bank and we believe in. So it will definitely address the poor and disadvantaged people in the ECD sector, and to improve the quality of services. And of course, the most important thing is that the government of Sri Lanka, their strategic development goals also align with the ECD now. So that will help, our investment will help that as well. So with that, I'll quickly take you through this project, our early childhood development project. What does it do? So if you look at the children in Sri Lanka, right, of course, physical space and ambience, infrastructure development, we are catering to it, and invest on human capital and the social resources, that is the teachers, parents, their capacity building, and also the ministerial officials, and also to support the system, very especially policy and governance. The truth behind the ECD sector today is that we have a low public expenditure. As I mentioned earlier, 0.0001% of the GDP in 2014, and for the entire education, it has been 1.75. As I told you, some other countries in our area in Southeast Asia are contributing more than this amount. But I must remind all of you that we have not taken into consideration the health component contribution to it. The Ministry of Health also manages 0 to 5 years, very especially 0 to 3 years. So there's a component of funds that goes into healthcare development of children in that, and that has not been captured under this percentage. The next is low coverage of the ECD services. The census proved that out of this 1.8 children, only 56% of children enroll into the ECD centers today. So that there is a problem with regard to coverage in ECD. Similarly, the access to child development centers or preschools, or we call it an ECD centers, whether rich or poor, urban, rural, is inadequate. If I may just give you some figures of it, we have among the rural estate sector 49% coverage. Then among the rich, it's only rich or urban, it is about 59%. And poor, if you take the poor people, the poorest quintile of it, it's only 39%. So location and income are key determinants of this in this, and also lack of awareness on the ECD and the value of it. Inadequate number of ECD centers has contributed toward this. This is further we have another problem: the infrastructure facilities that are available. Only 42% preschools have basic indoor equipment. Nearly 40% does not have adequate play equipment, outdoor play materials. And when it comes to learning materials, 36% does not have enough and more. Similarly, less than 50% of our teachers does not have a proper 1-year qualification. It is amazing to know that Ireland, Japan, Brazil, and when you look at those uh, countries, we see the enrollment. You can easily see ours is not in par with the rest. Ireland, of course, have very much better than us. Even Japan 91, Brazil 94, and Finland 79. And ECD centers privately owned. The census report said it's 71%. And if you take the government, non-governmental organization run centers, it's about 9%. So 80% of our ECD centers are run by the private sector. Ireland, it's 99% in the private sector, and Finland, it's purely free of charge. So I mean that's the reason why it is blank. And if you look at the percentage of GDP that goes into ECD, it's clearly mentioned over there. You can see ours is very much less. Similarly, the Finland has publicly subsidized private ECC centers. So the government supports the sector over there for childcare and education. So their model is slightly different to rest. So similarly, if you under our project, the ECD project is mainly to enhance equitable access to and improve the quality of ECD services. That's the objective of the project. And we have a $50 million project in this during a five-year period. We are into the 4th year now. And our implementing agency is the Ministry of Women, Child Affairs and Social Security. We are looking at, say, why are we talking of this project? As I told you, 1 to 4 is our contribution from the ECD sector. Government has, when there's 1 center, the private sector and the NGO has about 4 centers. And the public sector alone will not be able to handle the entire ECD works to bring up the quality. The government need to come in. So this project is unique in that sense. And the strategy of public-private partnership, we look at the triple P concept under our project to enhance this equitable access and to improve the quality of ECD services. We have 3 components in this: improving quality, enhancing access, the equitable access, and also to strengthen the management of services. That we have aligned with. To do that, we have, so if you look at the enhancing, there are several actions that we take, very especially increasing the number of new ECD centers, upgrading of present ECD centers. That is, we do under facility improvement grant. We have a very strict selection criteria underneath. We select the centers according to national census report, and also we get involved with the child development office and the divisional or district secretarial officers, identify these centers. We upgrade about 6,000 centers there. Of course, teaching learning materials, tuition fee waiver, we offered about 30,000 children today to obtain free of charge ECD services at preschools. And also we are interested in enhancing the inclusive ECC services with the Social Security Ministry. To improve the quality, we are coming up with 9 resource centers, each in 1 province. Then also in the plantation sector, also we are developing 2 resource centers. ECD centers aligned with the national quality standards. Standards have been developed by the Children's Secretariat. Then long-term and short-term training, very especially because there are 65 to 70 institutes which provide national diploma. So instead of looking at the national diploma curriculum, we thought we'll come up with a in-service training, and that is happening. And we develop master trainers also to support this. We have come up with a parental awareness. We do this a comprehensive parental awareness program. We have partnered with the National Institute of Education and Open Institute of Sri Lanka to develop these training modules. And we have trained more than 150,000 parents by now, and nearly 16,000 teachers out of 45,000. Our target was only 6,000 teachers. We have done almost 3 times of that. And presently, we are conducting a social audit as well to see the impact. Similarly, the ECD policy came up in 2018, started in 2004. The national quality standards, these are there, but we need to strengthen it. So we are supporting the ministry to bring it to the ground level. So a proper monitoring evaluation system. For that, we have developed a management information system, and I'm sure the Children's Secretary will be able to capitalize on that once the project is over. This is just I'll take you through in quick sessions, like There are 3,400 centers that we have supported so far. We have given financial aids. As I mentioned to you, it's called Facility Improvement Grant. So target is 6,000 and 3,400 centers have already obtained these facilities, and we are going to provide this facility to the rest of 1,600 also during our project period, which is happening now. Then long-term, short-term trainings, 439 master trainers being done. The numbers are there for you, preschool teachers, scholarships that we have offered to teachers as well, and child development officers in plantations for the first time, and they're obtaining a national diploma. And also we have looked at, as a new entry, the day caregivers training, 535 with government institutions. We are doing it NITA and VTA, and they are training at the moment 535 daycare providers in the country. Just to show you the indicators. So we have expansion, strengthening ECD services, project management monitoring, and then also one component is the Plantation Human Development Trust, where we will be delivering to the plantation sector nearly $10 million US worth of activities going to the plantation sector for the first time to strengthen the ECD services. Just to glimpse, these are the renovations that have taken place. I took the photos of plantation sector, how it then and now story, what it was before on the left and the right. You can see the transformation of a complete ECD center. Here you have a preschool plus the daycare facility, right? In plantations, already nearly 50 to 60 centers have been developed, and we are completing 140 centers during our project period. Similarly, upgrading of play areas, existing play areas, because sometimes you have the center, you don't have the play area. Then capacity building, we continue to do that. Parental awareness, these are some of the training pictures. Day caregivers training, child daycare, and also we are going to strengthen the home gardening concept. We started with the plantation sector so that the nutrition aspect also could be covered under the project. Children with special needs, this is an area where we need to look at, but unfortunately the project will not have enough time to do much on special needs children. With the Ministry of Social Welfare, we hope to provide facilities to the special needs children, preschools, or you call the child development centers, and we have identified few, and we are working on it at the moment. So investing in the private sector is very important, and another aspect is that say blue chip companies, pardon me for mentioning, like Brandix, they have come up with extended services to their people. So they have come up with proper ECD centers, and we need to support to see how well we can support these centers with the technical know-how. And the government is also looking forward to it to go into the private-public partnership. But problem would be for us is the time, whether we have adequate time during our project period to address this as well. We came up, we have faced few challenges. We have seen under the project, when it comes to government partnership with private ECD centers, the government officials does not have much experience in it, spelling out or sending financial aid to private sector directly. So there was a kind of a resistance from them, and we had to do a lot of advocacy and coordination with the division secretaries, district secretaries, provincial authorities to agree them into this system of supporting private sector directly. So there was a lot of capacity building, management, and monitoring along with that. And another thing that we came up with was coordination and collaboration between divisional secretaries, provincial authorities. There are a lot of problems in it. I'll come to that later. Then also finally, it will be the additional work of the ECD and technical officers. Presently, they have a huge workload. There are only 1 or 2 technical officers in the divisional secretariat, and there's only 1 ECD officer. So the project works also comes on their shoulder. As a result, they were reluctant to provide the 100% contribution towards project activities, and we are finding it difficult because of that. So what have we learned through this? Of course, the private-public partnership has enabled wide and strong outstretch of service delivery. Then also, many census is to be done. We need to do that. We have conducted a national census. We have to do a mini census, which we have already begun. And by next year, we'll be able to see where we are, what project has done, and whether there are new entrants to the ECD sector compared to 2016. Then foundation for testing of new approaches, but especially results-oriented funding should be there. It is not just ECD funding by various stakeholders, but to be aligned with the national policy and guidelines and how we can develop the sector. So sustainable solutions also need to be integrated into the system, right? And then also, luckily, we have the presidential mandate, the new president's mandate addressing ECD. I'm not promoting politics, but the new president mandate also has taken a keen interest on the ECD. That is very good for the sector. Now, if you say, I'll come to the last section of my presentation. Where are we today on the ECD? We have a national policy which was developed in 2004 and it was revised in 2018 by the Children's Secretariat, and it's been passed. Then we have a national policy, so that's the national ECCD policy, which refers to 0 to 5 years. National policy on ECE by the Minister of Education was done in 2020, and that was this year, and cabinet approval already obtained. So there is a problem between these two. Then registration for management of supervision of preschools under the 13th Amendment, Article 154, provincial authorities has the right to do that, and about 6 provinces have come up with statutes by now. The National Child Development Standards were made in 2016, first 0 to 3 years by the Ministry of Health, Children's Secretary did for 3 to 5, and 5 to 8 by the Ministry of Health. ECCE curriculum was developed for the nation, and it is actually getting developed at the moment by the Children's Secretariat, and so do the National Act, which is also getting prepared. How other countries have done, this is also, I think, important to look at. There are some countries which have gone into integration of childcare and education. Countries like New Zealand, Vietnam, Sweden, they were the starters. They did in 1980s, 1990s, and they started this. And as a result, today we have an integrated childcare and education system. New Zealand started in 1986, Vietnam started in 1987, and Sweden did it in 1995. So the strategies, policies, governance, delivery of childcare education, all were integrated, and that system has given them a lot of good. So we have a success story with regard to integration. But on the other hand, there are countries like Ireland, France, Belgium, who still believes in, who continues in strict integration system, and their intersectoral coordination is better with regard to policy and administration framework. So still they have not gone into total integration. They have strict integration. A country like Japan is on low integration. Their governance and strategy, they have not totally integrated, but their delivery has been integrated. So we have another model over there. But so this shows there's no one size fits for all. So for Sri Lanka, we have to decide what is suitable for us, whether it's total integration, whether it's a split integration, or are we to follow like low level integration like in Japan, or it may be something, a combination of all this, because there are multi-sectoral players here. There are we have few ministries, 5-6 ministries: Ministry of Health, Ministry of Women Child Affairs, Ministry of even administration, because children's provinces comes under them. So different players into this. And so with that, I will in my presentation. I think my time is up. So I think we have to discuss what would be the best for Sri Lanka, right? So the forum is open, and let us discuss and see whether are we to go strong-headedly into one of the ways of whether it's integration or split integration, or else whether we have to wait, whether we have to give a little time. See, but just to give you a heads up on my thinking in one, that is 0 to 3 years. Of course, the Ministry of Health have been handling very well. So their interventions through the Family Health Bureau has been spot on. They have a proper system, and it is worldwide recognized. And as a result, we have achieved so many, and including to bring down even child mortality and maternal mortality as well. So I think we can't select one way of doing it. it has to be learnings, and also to develop a system which is more suited to us. At the moment, Ministry of Education and Ministry of Women and Child Affairs, as I know, are discussing to see how well this new policy could be, who and where, who should take the responsibility, what are the how we could share and work in this entire ECE.